You're listening to the Jam Price Show, all about movies. And today, my guest is writer director Stephen Luke, and we're going to be talking about his brand new film, Operation Seawolf. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, good. It's good to have you here. So, our audience knows a little bit about what we will be talking about today. Can you give a brief synopsis about Operation Seawolf?
Sure, sure. So Operation Seawolf is set during the last days of World War II. It follows a German U-boat commander and submarine as they're kind of tasked with this last mission to try to turn the tide of the war in the Germans' favor. And so while they're on this mission, the United States Navy obviously is going to have something to say about it. So they're being hunted throughout the whole film. And that's kind of it's a cat and mouse game from beginning to end.
It is, and it's exciting from beginning to end too. And you have two really wonderful stars in this film. Frank Grillo and Dolph Lundgren. So let's talk about that. Frank Grillo is, as I said, he's in about every film I watch almost. He's everywhere. He's such a wonderful actor and so versatile. How did you attract him to this project?
Right. So, yeah, no, I've fantastic Frank and Dolph, awesome to work with, amazing actors, obviously in their own right, but just super professional and very committed to the roles. It's always fun to work with talent like that. They just bring such a level of excitement and prestige to what they do, and it's that's kind of one of those things where it's like your for them to agree to kind of be in your film or your project, it says a lot about what you're trying to create, that they're willing to kind of go on that journey with you. So to answer your question, I would say the story and the character of that they were kind of being offered to play is kind of the driving factor of how they choose and why they chose to be in this movie. I mean, they obviously, like you said, Frank is an amazing actor who's in a lot of things. And so he gets to kind of pick and choose the things that he wants to be in. So yeah, that's, I would say the primary reason is that, story and character that
Right.
drew them to the movie.
Yeah, and interesting. They don't have any scenes together in this film. They're
They,
just opposite.
they, they don't. Obviously, Dolph is playing my German U-boat commander, Kessler, and Frank is my U.S. Navy commander. And they don't have any scenes together. Obviously, they interact in opposite corners, as you will. They're kind of hunting each other, and they don't really, they don't interact physically in the movie. I know when we were on set for Frank's scenes, Dolph made it a point to arrive and be there, so that way he could say hi, and also we could at least get them both together in a photo. So that way they both could, actually say hi to each other in the same movie and not feel like we didn't even know we were in it together.
Right.
So
Oh, that was nice of him to do
yeah,
that for
great.
sure, for sure. Yeah. So what I thought was fascinating about this is that you really take the German perspective in this film. We usually don't see, every film we see about World War II, and I love any movie with World War II, World War One. I don't know, I'm always fascinated with those films. That it's always the American perspective or the English, whatever, if it's, if it's a movie that's set in England. But very rarely do we have one where it's the German perspective. And you're kind of like, I can't say you're rooting for him in a way, and then you're not, because what it did was bring some humanity, because we always think of when we're in war, the other people are our enemies and they must be terrible people. And yet in this one, we obviously have a great deal of sympathy for Dolph Lundgren's character in this, Captain Kessler in this. So how did you come about writing it from that perspective, Stephen?
Well, I think, obviously, when you're trying to tell a story or make a movie, you have, you're really focused in on the characters and, kind of their personal journeys and who they are, and wanting to bring, different people to life. And one of the things that I found very fascinated, especially as I was kind of digging in to create the story, is having to, you know, showcase someone that is not necessarily, you know, driven ideology with their ideology of the political environment that they're, kind of being faced with, and, just the everyday struggles that they might be going through in a war. And I think, I was very drawn to, obviously with the, it's a submarine movie, and kind of that aspect of, what types of men, individuals, women, that kind of are willing to put themselves, in a very tight enclosed space, miles potentially in under the ocean, which if there's a problem, their chance of survival is very slim. That's just always such a fascinating set of circumstances to follow. So yeah, I think wanting to kind of bring the characters to life. I think you hit the nail on the head, just saying like, I want the audience. Obviously, you're not rooting for, the Germans, the submarines to attack, the United States. But I want the audience to really, be on the side of like, we want to see these characters survive. Hopefully they get to have, make it out. So, and I think that's such a strong trait and characteristic, that there is good and there is humanity even in our enemies.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, if we all remember that we all are one and all interconnected, then maybe we wouldn't have so many wars. But
Very true.
but I think that's wishful thinking on my part. Anyhow, I'm a Pollyanna. Um, in this, I actually wanted to know, was this based on something that actually happened during World War II?
Yes. So the story actually does follow a true to life mission. They're called Operation Seawolf. There was the Germans. There was a couple of these. They coded these missions. They were all types of attacks on the United States coast. They did have a last kind of attack on the United States coast towards the end of the war that they had labeled again Operation Seawolf, and they it's very true. I mean, it was very, in the story, the submarines are equipped with these rockets, and it is very true. In World War II, the U.S. Navy believed that this was the case. They 100% had intelligence to indicate that the Germans had come up with this, kind of one of their wonder weapons, and we're going to try to pull off this mission. And they, designated a very large task force in order to find these guys. So kind of seeing that as a true to life example, I thought like, well, it's a very interesting story, and one I hadn't ever heard of. And I thought it'd be interesting just to bring to life, always those little nuggets of history. And anytime you can showcase them, can always make for a good story.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought that's what, again, I thought that was interesting. I wasn't sure whether that had happened or not. So I went in doing this research. I read that you have a fear of water, don't like around water, especially salt water.
Well,
And yet you're drawn to water. So
yes,
let's talk about that.
Obviously I grew up in my home state, South Dakota, in the Midwest. So the Midwest, as I'm sure anyone that's from the Midwest knows, we're very landlocked. We're not around any oceans. And I don't necessarily have a fear of water, but I don't like, especially when I'm in the ocean, like I don't like to get in any sort of, uh, ankle deep water. I don't like sharks. I don't like, things that swim in the ocean. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and seeing those giant sharks swimming around people and they don't even realize that they're there. That scares me to death. And so I'm very hesitant to want to be around the ocean. And yet I think, and that's what kind of drew me to the story of, hey, these guys are willing to get in a submarine and not only be in the ocean, but like submerge themselves in the ocean. And I think that just takes such a very unique individuals. And so, I'm always very much willing to be someone that can conquer my fears. So yeah, I was like, well, this might be something I might enjoy and maybe learn to, I can get in the ocean a little bit further than I normally do.
Well, so Jaws really had a big effect on you.
Oh yeah, I hate shark movies. They scare me to death.
So no Sharknado for you.
No,
So we're now when I was watching the credits, because I always like to know where films are made. Did I read right? Cleveland?
yeah.
So let's talk about that.
So yeah, we shot. So the submarine that we used in the movie it's a real life sub. It's the USS Cod. We turned an American submarine, World War II submarine, into a German one for a week, couple weeks, and yeah, that was located in Cleveland, Ohio. Great guys out of there. I highly recommend if you get a chance and you're in Cleveland. It's right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and there's the USS Cod. Go check them out, both of them. It's fantastic submarine. It's one of the last living examples where you can actually go see, how our servicemen, Navy servicemen, lived in World War II as submariners, and I mean they were just fantastic. And the and in the movie, little fun tidbit, some of the we do a scene where they load in a torpedo. And the crew that actually loads in the torpedo are the ones that give the examples of how they did it in World War II, the living historians.
Wow.
So we show them doing it in the movie, and it looks fantastic because that's how they did it in World War II. So yeah, no, it was a lot of fun to do, and yeah, it wouldn't seem like you make a ocean movie and you were shooting in Cleveland, Ohio, but
right. So how did you get permission? Because that's like, it's a piece of history. It's, how did you manage that in order to have this, use it in this film?
Well, yes, most definitely. Obviously, and also along with, kind of acquiring those permissions, there's usually things that you can and can't do, obviously, to historical artifacts. I had researched the COD as being a potential location. And I reached out to the curator and kind of just introduced myself and who I am, and showed him some of my past projects. And I'm a history major from school. And so I can talk a little history as well. I mean, I'm very fascinated by history. I love it. So I do have a little bit of usually connection in terms of that regard. And yeah, they had done a couple projects before, documentaries, so they were familiar with the filming process, and they were all on board. They thought it'd be a lot of fun to turn their COD. We called it, obviously in World War II, it's called the USS Cod, and we called it Das Cod for the week. So,
so were the actors actually in the submarine? I mean, that was not a set. It was you filmed in the submarine.
We filmed in the submarine.
Wow.
So all of those, that's all submarine. We'd have to get in, to get into the sub, you have to go through the hatch. And there's only, two hatches in and out. So we could only get in and out. And I mean, to get to, like, say, the command center, it's in the middle of the sub. You'd have to walk the length of the sub. Or, you have to walk through the whole sub to get there. And yeah, we were in the submarine the whole time.
Amazing. Because, we always think everything's a set anymore in this world. So how difficult was that? Because it's small. I have gone on a submarine. I think in New York, there was one years ago, and I went and, it was feeling claustrophobic when I went in. And my uncle during World War II was on a submarine that got lost for 30 days.
Oh, wow.
They lost it. Yeah. And they found it, thank God. But I can't imagine being under the ocean in a submarine. So what was that? How was the filming of that? And what was that like for everybody, for the crew? Because you have to have a pretty big crew and you're all jammed in this small space.
Yeah. I mean, it most definitely, we had I shouldn't say quite a lot of people, but I mean, we had a number of people, obviously, when you have all your extras and cast in there and the crew. So, I mean, it honestly probably felt like how the guys felt like in the sub. So when you pass each other, I mean, in the halls, you had to like, kind of shimmy on by each other, and you just kind of found a little corner, and like to rotate, like if you need to get to another, like if you're in a spot and if you need to get to the other side, you kind of all have to move together. It's like, okay, let's shuffle around. And so it was a very interesting experience. The submarine, I'm sure in a World War II standards it is a big submarine, but it definitely was very small. And those guys, I don't know how they did it with their full crews every day. I mean, we were just there for a week or so, and they would have obviously been there, like you said, lost for 30 days. I couldn't imagine.
No. It was synchronized filming. It sounds
Yeah.
like instead of synchronized swimming, we had synchronized filming of this film. How long were you? You said you were on the submarine for a week, or how long were you?
Yeah, we were there. I think we shot in the sub for about 7 days. We obviously have other locations that we shot on, but yeah, we were in the sub for 7. I think we might have prepped for 2 or 3 days before that in the sub. So yeah, we were there. We were there almost in Cleveland for about 2 weeks for just that, for those filming time frames. But yeah, we were in the sub for a good 7 days, and I mean, it was, we shot it in the, we set our film, up in at the end of the war, which is kind of up in the last, up in Norway. There's still was snow, so we kind of based in winter. I mean, and we shot in the winter, and the breath you see is real. It was cold inside the sub. We had heaters, and it would suck out oxygen. Sometimes, if you there are some points where you can tell like the actors are having trouble not breathing, but as they're delivering their lines, you can tell that they're having trouble, like just not having trouble breathing, but like they just not a lot of oxygen. And that, I mean, which would have been true in real life, and it was very true for us too. So
Yeah. So how long was the actual shoot on this?
So the actual shoot, so we had it spread out over, it wasn't necessarily consecutive, but we spent about 16 days shooting in a given period. Obviously with pre-production and post-production, those days are a lot more days involved in that, but the actual shooting about 16.
16. So, and the water scenes then, where were they shot that you have in this? Did you actually go? I mean, you have Lake Erie right there. So did you shoot things on Lake Erie, or did you actually go to one of
yeah, I mean, a lot of the water is VFX. A lot of the water,
okay.
big water stuff is VFX, created all in a VFX environment. Obviously, sometimes you see the characters outside of the sub or interacting. And yeah, we were, yeah, I think that's, I mean, whatever that is, that Lake Erie. It might be.
I think it's Lake Erie up there. Yeah, yeah.
The submarine guys will make fun of me if it's Lake Erie.
It's
yeah,
Lake
we were on Lake Erie. It was frozen over, and we would see they had a we'd come outside of the sub, and they had the Coast Guard was right next to us in one of their ships, and they would do this thing where they would try to, and the lake was completely frozen, and they would run this drill where they would practice jumping into the lake to kind of practice rescue, and they would jump up and down on the ice and break it and fall in, and it was just the craziest thing to watch. And but I mean, those guys, I mean, that's their job, to rescue, and they were practicing. So that was a very interesting experience.
That's very impressive also. Yeah. Yeah. I think Lake Erie is the shallowest of the Great Lakes. I lived in Conneaut, Ohio, which is
okay.
up
yeah.
Do you know, it's a little teeny town up by actually by Erie, Pennsylvania. It's right up there, and it's on Lake Erie. So yeah, when I was very young, I lived there. So yeah. So yeah, interesting. So you've got some other, you've got some other projects coming up, and I think you have the same stars in your next project. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I do have a movie that we're just kind of getting done, handing over. It's called Come Out Fighting. It also has Dolph's in this one as well. It's got a couple other ones. Yeah, and Hiram, who's also in Operation Seawolf, is my main star in Come Out Fighting. And yeah, no, I enjoy it. I mean, I think with anyone, you enjoy working with people that you enjoy working with. And I've been very fortunate and blessed to kind of have some of these named actors, be in several of my projects. Because, I mean, not only are they super talented, but I hope, I guess I can't speak for them, but they enjoy their time while they're on set and working with me, my crew, and other cast members. And it's fun. It's fun to get to kind of work with people that you enjoy working with, and
Right.
that's kind of shown in some of my projects. That they, if it's a part that they feel like they want to play, that they have, and they know they can have a good time, they can have a very enjoyable experience on set, that they'll come back. And it's very big testament to all of my cast and crew, and I've always appreciated them. And yeah, no, it's fun, and it's fun to get to do that. And yeah, no, always full of projects, and so they're always, keep the work going.
That's great. It does say an awful lot, as Spielberg likes to work for certain actors all the time. Scorsese likes to work with Leonardo, Tom Hanks and yeah, Spielberg work a lot together. So when you get that chemistry and you get that shorthand and know how to work together, there's a lot to be said for that. Especially if the shoot is a short shoot like many of the independent films are. When you can develop that shorthand, that's great. You're also an actor. Let's talk a little bit about your acting career.
Well, sure. I do act. I kind of got into film as an actor. To me, I always equate acting is always art to me. There's lots of aspects of filmmaking that are technical or business. When I kind of get to act in something, that's always kind of the art. It's an art form. So when I kind of come out to act in something, I usually am kind of just drawn to the art side of it. So yeah, I do find myself every once in a while being in some projects. And I'm just probably like any actor. If it's something I haven't ever done or something I find, that's challenging, I go, oh, I want to, jump on board and be a part of it. So
Right.
it's something enjoyable and fun to do.
Out of all the hats you wear as a writer, director, actor, which hat do you like the most?
Well, the the one I probably like the most is actor. Obviously, it's fun to kind of get to just only play one character, and get to do worry about one thing. I've got to perform this role, and I'm responsible for that. So that's probably the most fun. But however, the thing that I probably enjoy the most is producing. I love producing. I love the business side of it. I love, getting people involved. I love, bringing people together. It's just, it's hard. It's something that I find myself to be good at, and I think it's one of the hardest jobs in film. And I try to let that talent and shine and include as many people as I can, because it's something that I am good at. So the producing part of it is probably the thing I enjoy the most. The directing, that's probably very close to acting. It's fun for me. I love working with the actors. I love diving in that world and kind of figuring out who these characters are and where we're going. How can we tell these stories? That is the fun aspect of it to me. And yeah, so those are the three things, and that's what probably in that order.
Yeah, so many actors have turned to directing. I think, and so many of them have become excellent directors. I think because they understand what goes on for the actor, when they're filming. So there's a lot to be said about that too.
I think they're also, storytellers.
Yes.
A lot of actors are storytellers, and at whatever capacity, and directing is a great way to help be involved in the story. Storytellers, and they just want to tell stories, and usually at whatever capacity they're allowed to, and I'm all for that. We all
Yeah.
know our
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, I just saw the documentary about Sidney Poitier called Sydney last evening, and Oprah was there with the director and the producer talking about it afterwards, and it was quite impressive. I didn't even think about Sidney Poitier becoming a director later in life, so that was also interesting that he did stir crazy. I don't know why I didn't realize that. So
Documentaries are always fascinating to me. I don't think I could ever make a documentary, but I love watching them. So
me too. Me too. Well, that's what this show's dedicated to,
sure.
documentaries, filmmakers, and independent filmmakers.
Wow.
Stephen, where can people see Operation Seawolf?
Yes, so Operation Seawolf comes out in select theaters on October 7th. And then it's out on digital on demand on October 25th. I, iTunes, Amazon Prime. I'm sure I'm forgetting some of some of the other major streamers. You're gonna get to find that out. I would highly recommend Google Operation Seawolf.
Exactly.
It'll shoot up all the updates and everything that's happening. There's lots of stuff going on, and that's the 7th and the 25th.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I wish you much success with Operation Seawolf. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and good luck with everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.